Welcome to Career Biz, the podcast of the University Career Center at UNC Charlotte. I'm Jay.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are here today to talk about learning to love your major. Now, not love it in the same sense as Valentine's Day necessarily, but we do want to talk a little bit about the reason why it's important for you to kind of fall in love, or at least in extreme like, with what you're studying and the path that you are pursuing. And each one of us at one time or another in our career has worked as a career coach and a career counselor and worked with students who weren't really sure about where to start, what to do. We still see those students today. So I want us to start there. Let's talk about resources we have available for students who are still exploring their options and stuff. So Matthew, what all do we want to highlight?
Yeah, totally. So for me, I think Jobsology is a great place to start. It's an assessment that is free for you to take as a UNC Charlotte student. And you can access this by going to our website, career.uncc.edu. But what Jobsology is really going to do is it's going to allow you to kind of go through these steps, answer some questions, and give some possible good starting points for career paths that you might find interesting. You can kind of take those. You can meet with a career coach to go over your Jobsology. But then what's really cool is there's a free website out there called onetonline.org. It is amazing. So basically you can look at careers around career clusters, around professional areas, around industry, and it gives you such detailed information about daily activities, technology you might want to have on your resume, certifications you can take. It's a really cool online resource. So kind of starting there with those two types of things and talking through through all of those things with a career coach is my go-to for that starting point.
And for students looking for Jobsology, you'll find it in the Pathways U area, and that's that whole first stop to figure out how does this thing tick? What's going on in here? Getting it on paper that's out there. I think the other big thing that I always talk to students about is go see the jobs being done. Go talk to people that are actually doing it, because you'll get a sense of, oh no, I hate that, or oh, that's really, really cool, because now you're seeing it in action. When you're thinking about higher education, you're thinking about the books and the classes you're taking, they're presenting the ideal, right? Here's what the job is all about. Here's how you do the job. But once you actually get in the trenches with those who are doing it, you'll start to see, it in action, what's actual, any kind of red tape that might exist, and it'll kind of hit home. And I'll give a quick example before I throw it back to you, Jay. Student teachers. It's usually around the junior year. Our student educators go out into the world, into the classroom, and do teaching. And it's usually around that time that you see a good percentage of them say, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, because now they see it in action and they had a different idea of what it's all about.
Yeah, back in the old days, we called that job shadowing and stuff. And I think you can still do some of that out there. But nowadays, through things like ONET that you mentioned, Matt, and I mean, goodness, just search on YouTube, you can see like a day in the life of just about any job or career that you want to get into. So there's a way to do that. The other thing too, and this is what we've talked so much about when it comes to networking and building your social capital and stuff, is start asking people, hey, do you know anybody who knows this? Do you have a cousin who does this? Talk to your friends, talk to your parents, talk to their friends. And just get it from the bird's point of view, realizing that you're getting their subjective information and then you're trying to make an objective decision about it. And that's the other part. And both of you mentioned it in there. I think one of the more valuable resources is our career coaching resources, because if for nothing more, that can be good information overload relief for a student. You can get so much stuff in your head and on your web browser, and you got 30 tabs open, and how do I sort any of this out? And that's what career coaches do. Matt, you were most recently a career coach of the three of us here. So talk through what that process is like, talking to a student about choosing between all the different options they've researched.
Sure. So, one of the things that I find to be most helpful, especially where I've worked a lot with arts media design type students, is instead of thinking about, okay, what profession do I want to do? Think about what company do you want to work for, right? So thinking from that company idea and then going through and exploring all the different parts of that company, right? So it could be, we go through and we talk through HR, through upper level, through tech, through finance. So always remember that a lot of the companies that you might be interested in have multiple levels, multiple departments that can be applicable around your interests. what I usually will do in my appointments is we'll go from there. We'll think about an employer. Then we'll go searching on LinkedIn and type in the employer's name. We'll see some job titles, and then we will read the person's LinkedIn profile for what they put down as their like bullet points underneath that job title. And then we'll go check it out on like ONET or explore other parts online. So what that's really doing is it's giving you a lot of different variations of like, what is that profession? What is that career path? And then I also, as like the next step after that is if you feel like that's still a great fit for you, is to reach out to that person on LinkedIn, right? And letting them know, approaching it from not asking them something, but approaching it from education, right? So asking them for an informational interview about how they got to where they are, what's it like working where they are, really utilizing that ability for you as a student to learn from them and to grow your network and that connection authentically, because ideally down the road, that person might have an internship or a job and they think of you, right? So also after you reach out to them that one time, and let's say they do an informational interview with you, make sure that you follow up with them every few months, right? Check in with them, see how they're doing, find an article that might be relevant to them. That's a really great way for you to really do more than just dip your toe into the waters. You're almost putting a whole foot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're getting a little more in there.
No, and I love what you're saying. That's exactly right. When you know, how do I ask somebody for information about their career? Well, the thing is, if people are on something like LinkedIn, they're there because they want people to connect with them and ask them about their. People don't go on LinkedIn and say "do not connect." That's not the little graphic they have. It's open to connections, you know. And you should do that kind of stuff. And what you want to do is say, "Hey, I'm a sophomore. I'm really thinking about going into social media marketing, and I see that's what you do. I'd love to have 5 minutes of your time and just find out what your day is like." You know, every day, and say, you know, I read this or I saw this cool thing. Is that what you get to do? That starts a good conversation with people.
Totally.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say two things. One, major does not equal career all the time. So get that out of your mind. Get out of there that I'm studying psychology, so the only thing I'm allowed to do is psychology. Get that out of your mind. You are gaining knowledge, and as Matt talked about, you're applying it to the area of the world that you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Second thing that's most important is this idea of passion. You hear it out there, find your passion. Well, what happens if you can't figure out what you're passionate in? It's not about passion. It's about purpose. It's about finding that part of the world that you want to be in and that part of the world that you want to fix, whatever that is. And then, like Matt says, you start to learn about companies and job functions that are in that space doing those things that bring you excitement in that sort of way. So put away passion, put away this idea that major equals career, and start to learn what makes you tick, what makes you excited, what brings you energy. And then, oh my gosh, all the cool stuff will come from. You'll be awesomely authentic if you can find that connection.
Yeah, it is really about building a good understanding and balance of the things that you're interested in, the things that motivate you, and where you have skills and aptitude, and finding a good marriage between those things. Because the truth of the matter is, if you only do something because you're good at it, but your interest level is low, you're only ever going to be this good at it. The other side of it, you can have a ton of interest in stuff, but if you're not any good at it, there's only so much that interest can drag you up. Like, I love space exploration. I am not a physicist. That is not the kind of math that I know how to do, if I know how to do math at all.
I can imagine you in a spacesuit, Jay. I'm right there with you.
You know, I have been in a hazmat suit, and my bee collector suit does look very similar, but it's not the same, right? And I love what you said there, Patrick, that major does not equal career. But there's a flip side of that. There's a reason why it's important for you to choose direction, discover that purpose, and start going toward it, because there have been tons of studies that have been replicated even 10 years down the line after they were started that prove without a doubt that the students who choose a path, have defined career goals, are more likely to, one, stay in school, and secondly, and this is really important, finish on time. Now, on time can mean different things for other people, but what it really is about is staying on path and not pulling in more debt than you have to get your education to where you want to go, and making those connections to get you where you want to be on the other side of it.
I love this. I always love talking about major does not equal career, because quick story time. One of my Clifton strengths is communication. So I always love a good story to illustrate a point. And if you do not know your Clifton strengths, check with the Career Center. You can totally figure them out. So I was an undergrad, went to Old Dominion University, where I studied media. I wanted to be a anchor or whatever, right? natural things that students want to do when they go into that major normally. I took an intro to understanding mass media course, and it was all about like dissecting media and understanding representation. And that class really put me on the pathway to understanding like, oh, I get excited and like energized to talk about like how media creation and media industry affects the way we understand the world. So I didn't know what to do with that as a career. So I ended up going to grad school. And in grad school, I studied superheroes and the way that superheroes are understood around LGBTQ identities.
I didn't know you studied superheroes.
You wish. I studied Storm. I studied fabulous goddesses of super heroines. But what is interesting, and I always find very interesting to tell students, is I got my first semester, I got a graduate assistantship in the Career Center that I worked at Old Dominion. And so even though my grad degree really had nothing to do with career coaching, it had nothing to do with any of that, my job did, but I was able to find a really cool way to intersect them. One around I really wanted to be inclusive around LGBT people and identities and underrepresented minorities in work. I was able to do that through my graduate assistant position. I love to be creative. I was able to do that. And what's really cool is I was able to maybe not, meet or go on TV and meet Storm. I mean, she's a character, but meet people. But what I was able to do is I've been able to meet the creator of Storm. I've been able to meet people from Marvel, from Netflix, all these people who have touched these properties, right? All these people who have created these properties. And so I've found my passion really relying on critical thinking and being in those spaces as a way to kind of fill up your cup. So think outside the box. Think about how something that you're really in love with can then be pushing you in different directions that you never even thought of before for your career.
And I want to bring out a word called agile. So you were demonstrating your ability to be an agile worker, which means you studied what you love, you gained some great skills, and then you molded it, and then took a job where you can mold the job to fit into your strengths and find you that energy, yet still doing great things for that organization. Well done.
I think, Matt, you really demonstrated the idea of finding purpose and finding passion in the purpose, and then allowing that to guide you forward and being flexible enough to take the path that comes open in front of you that you didn't know about. I mean, look, I like to tell the story. I've never met a single person in my 21 years of doing this who set out to say, I want to work in career services, because most of us didn't know it existed and most of us fell into it. And that's fine, because that's how a lot of things go in life and through work. So to wrap it up, put kind of a bow on it, if you will, put it in a box of chocolates for this Valentine's, in your episode for us here. What I'm hearing is that, one, you got a lot of resources at your hands, and they're free, gang. So make sure you interface with us at the Career Center and check out, the options you have with career coaching to get some help. Two, let go of this construct that major equals career, or that you need to find your passion. What you need to do is find your purpose, find the industry you want to work in, and it can start on the micro level. Think of a company you want to work in and be a part of, and work your way backward from there. And then lastly, realize that things are going to change and adjust in front of you. Talk to people around you, take good advice, give good advice, and be agile enough to adjust as things adjust in front of you. If you do those things, you're going to find your purpose, you're going to find your career path, and you're going to find yourself feeling a lot more successful than if you just do the straight line menu job.
Now, Jay, you mentioned box of chocolates, so I'm going to do my best Forrest Gump to kind of close it out for you. That's all I got to say about that.
And I think that's a great way to wrap it up for today. So, folks, again, you can follow the happenings of the Career Center at career.uncc.edu. Follow us on social media at Niner Careers. And, of course, if you like the Career Bits podcast or the video cast that you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, share it with other people. We appreciate the support. For Patrick and Matthew, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening and watching Career Bits. We'll talk to you again soon.